Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to welcome you today at COP27. These 2 weeks, the entire world is here exploring solutions for climate action. And today I'm welcoming you from the Digital Innovation and Digital Art for Climate Pavilion in partnership with Climate Change Coalition. Today we have an unprecedented event, a Web3 presenting Polkadot ecosystem and our wonderful speakers who you can see on the screen. My name is Irina Karagian. I'm head ambassador of Polkadot, and today on the ground with me I have Ilya from every city who are also supporting our pavilion here at COP, and I have our wonderful panel. I'm going to give word to Zoe. She's our moderator and also global ambassador, head ambassador for events at Polkadot. The reason we're here as Polkadot is the fact that our technology is the most sustainable and energy efficient out there. There are several researchers available like Crypto Research Institute, Misari Reports, and Unique Networks and NFT Parachain, which I also represent here today, has done its own in-house report on energy efficiency and CO2 emissions of our chains. And it showed that one NFT mint, for example, on Unique Network is equals to one human breath. So we're here today to explore something beyond the infrastructure. We have Polkadot as the infrastructure, as the technology that allows people, companies, organizations to build application on a clean, sustainable, by default tech. But our ecosystem is so much more. There are so many wonderful solutions, and I'm honored and pleased to bring our panelists today to present Polkadot ecosystem. So please welcome Zoe, head ambassador, who will be moderating the panel. Zoe, over to you to present our panel, please.
Thank you so much, Irina. And hello and welcome also to this Polkadot Hour session here at COP27, or more for you guys at COP27, live from London. I'm saying hello. I think we have a very global panel here. Singapore, as far as I know. Alessandro, where are you based?
I'm currently in Devon, UK, so I'm close to you.
Okay, also, so yeah, different time zones here. And Arvin is in Singapore, as far as I know. Yeah, as Irina said, I'm also global head ambassador specifically for events for Polkadot. So I'm very, very happy to be here today with you guys. I hope we are still on screen. I see a black screen there. Yeah, there we are. Great. And to have this 1 hour, 60 minutes to really dive deep into a discussion on sustainability and climate change in the Polkadot ecosystem. And I mean, the whole conference that you are at the moment, COP27, is all about climate change and sustainability. So we really want to bring and emphasize on what technology like decentralized ledgers, Web3 can actually also do for these changes and how we can support these initiatives based on technologies such as Polkadot. So I'm joined with great speakers here today. Irina gave a short intro already, but I would like to give everyone also some time to introduce themselves and especially go a bit more into background on the use cases that everyone is working on. We have also a diverse background here from like Arvin, for example, building or working in the team that builds the Polkadot chain directly. And then we have Alessandro and Ilya using projects or building projects that are based on the Polkadot chain directly. So we will hear different perspectives today in this panel discussion. And if there are also any questions from the audience, from you guys, feel free to raise your hand after our initial panel discussion. We will have Irina there on the ground to be able to give the mic around, as far as I understand. So the last 15 minutes of our hour, we would like to open up the stage and include you as the audience as well. So I would like to give over to Arvin, actually. Arvin is Polkadot Ecosystem Success Lead at Parity. Parity Technologies is the company that develops the Polkadot relay chain as well as Kusama. Provides a lot of tooling in the Web3 space. And Arvin, please give a bit of background on your role at Parity and how you see also the role of Polkadot in the sustainability overall.
Thanks, Zoe, and thank you again for both Zoe and Irina for having us. So Parity is not the same as Polkadot. So Parity Technologies is the largest open source contributor to the Polkadot ecosystem. And I would like to shed attention on two different things here. So first of all, what is Polkadot? And second of all, what is Polkadot's position and relationship to sustainability? So if we start with what is Polkadot, the non-technical answer is that Polkadot is, in its essence, a community of communities. It is a technologically rooted belief in collaboration, in a multi-chain versus a mono-chain future. So if you look at other ecosystems, if one layer one blockchain wishes to communicate with another one, they have to establish some form of connection, often a bridge. This bridge is a vulnerability in and of itself. So if you imagine two cities, there is trade going on between these two cities. But the trade between these two cities depends on the integrity of the roads the goods will travel over. If there are potholes, so if it's poorly maintained, or if it's unsafe, so if there would be bandits, the trade will not last, no matter how lucrative it might be. But the challenges to interchain collaboration do not stop there. The two layer ones in question, each will have a different way of how they achieve consensus. That is how they validate the blocks and how they agree on new data being added on chain. And the weakest consensus mechanism residing in each of these two chains becomes the shared vulnerability between these chains. So Polkadot is developed with that challenge in mind. How can we best facilitate collaboration and proactively remove a few of these known barriers? Now, the relay chain provides every chain which connects to it with shared security and common interoperability across the ecosystem. And these chains are Polkadot parachains. And with proposed optimizations coming, Polkadot is actually on track to become the fastest blockchain ecosystem that currently exists, approaching a transaction throughput of up to 1 million transactions per second. But what is relevant to our conversation today in the context of the definition of what Polkadot is and isn't, is how it relates to sustainability. And there are 4 different pillars here that I would like to highlight. So first of all, across all ecosystems and L1s, Polkadot actually has the lowest carbon footprint in the world. And so next to the potential to become the fastest blockchain in the ecosystem, Polkadot already holds the title of most energy efficient amongst its proof-of-stake peers. And earlier this year, the Crypto Carbon Ratings Institute named Polkadot the most energy efficient blockchain amongst all its proof-of-stake peers, using the equivalent of only 7 US households worth of energy per year. So that's roughly the equivalent of 1 building in New York City on an annual basis. But this relationship actually also extends to economics. So in blockchain, it's common to look at a metric called total value locked. When assessing the economic value secured in financial applications on each platform, known as the total value locked, it would amount to around $18,000 per kilowatt hour for Avalanche versus $4,000 for Solana and just $19 for Polkadot. So also, if you compare it on the metric of economic efficiency in context of sustainability, it is far superior. But there's also relative sustainability. at the top level, you would have your proof of work blockchains. Then there's proof of stake. So proof of stake networks on average consume less than 0.001% of the Bitcoin network. And then there's proof of stake. Yes?
Arvin, shortly, because we might have some audience here that are very new to the technology. Could you shortly give a very short comparison between proof of stake and proof of work? Because we really compare, there are a lot of wrong perceptions that always are talked about energy efficiency of Bitcoin, right? About blockchain, and everyone talks about Bitcoin as the main blockchain. Now we're talking about proof of stake in a Polkadot layer. Could you make this short comparison here?
Sure. So it comes down to block production. How are blocks being validated? So in a proof of work system, this is going via computation, and this computation is often physical infrastructure heavy, hence the mining rigs, and the statistics of blockchain uses the equivalent of Ireland. That's kind of where that's coming through. Whereas proof of stake is really quite different, because it is a token-based voting mechanism. And where nominated proof of stake, which is what Polkadot uses, is different yet again, is that there is a set of nominators that votes these validators into the set. And that's how Polkadot, rather than producing the energy equivalent of Ireland, actually produces the energy equivalent of 7 households on an annual basis. Great. And then there's this fourth lever that I will just conclude with before handing it back over to you guys, is that the sustainability is actually set up to be completely scalable. So the way Polkadot is designed, the energy consumed per transaction actually decreases as more parachains join the network. So I'll leave it with that and look forward to our panel.
Yes, thank you so much, Arvin. I think this was a very useful educational intro for everyone that's also very new to Polkadot, and really to understand the value and the standpoint that we have on sustainability here in the Web3 ecosystem. So as you can see, a very, very powerful technology as a layer 0, as we call it, also a meta protocol, where a lot of innovative projects and protocol can actually launch on top of, right? This is what Polkadot provides. I would like to hear some other perspectives as well, and give over the mic to Alessandro. Alessandro Masso, he's head of partnerships and field research at Sovereign Nature Initiative, also a great project in the Polkadot ecosystem. Alessandro, please tell us a little bit, what is Sovereign Nature exactly, and what involves your work in this field? And I know that you already have quite some experience, over 6 years, right, in the decentralized technology area. So yeah, please give us a short intro.
Sure. Thanks, Zoe. Yeah, so I'm Alessandro Mazzi, and head of partnerships and field research at the Sovereign Nature Initiative. The Sovereign Nature Initiative is a Dutch non-for-profit. We are based in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, and the work that we do is at the intersection of ecology, so the study of the relationship between organisms, including humans, in this planet, the economy, so the study of the rules and governance of scarce resources, and then technology and emerging technologies. And we have a strong background in Web3 and blockchain. So the question in technology, since that's what we're talking about today, innovation and digital innovation is specific. For us, technology is the end of, let's say, it's something that emerges from a research into the questions they were trying to tackle, and the question there for us is, how can technology be used not as only a force of extraction and exploitation, as history taught us, but as a force of regeneration? And I would say why we chose for the Polkadot ecosystem as a partner to develop technology that can be regenerative, that can support communities that work for the conservation and restoration of wild ecosystem, because that's what we're working on currently, is for several reasons. I mean, you've already pointed out the fact that the Polkadot ecosystem, the network itself, is incredibly energy efficient. Transactions are basically free. So when we are accessing like these communities in the global south, for instance, they work on restoring wild ecosystems. If we come up with a network that charges like hundreds of dollars at times for a single transaction, it would basically make it impossible for our solutions to be implemented there. So this is one of the reasons, but there is also many other reasons. The fact that we work to empower communities that work on wildlife conservations to also have a say in the governance of those wild ecosystems. What Polkadot offers us is a very dynamic governance model, whereby we can give the freedom to these communities and the NGOs that work with them to decide the type of governance that they want to implement to manage those wild ecosystems. I could talk about a project that is ongoing now and where we are trying to bring Polkadot tech to the global south. It's a project in Kenya that we started, I would say, almost a year ago now, that basically tries to build Web3 capacity in the field of community-led conservation in the Masai Mara region. So we partner up with the Kenya Wildlife Trust, which is the NGO that works on the protection of predators in this wild ecosystem in Kenya. And what we have done, thanks to also the support of the Kusama Treasury, is we ran a hackathon whereby we invited teams from all over the world to develop technologies that could help the efforts of this NGO, specifically on line identification and the mitigation of conflicts. And through that process of learning how we can bring technology to really have impact on the ground, we started to see what the potential of Web3 is, which is, again, a more fair value distribution to communities that work and pay also the cost of living with wild animals. And also, again, a more inclusive governance model. So this is what we will be moving towards and implementing, which is amazing to see that technology is also not only something that has impact in the global north, but in the global south can really make have very, very positive results for communities that are paying the costs of the climate crisis the most and are in need of being included in value distribution, let's say. So this
Amazing.
is
Thank you so much for sharing, Alessandro. This is a very, very special use case. And what I love also, you mentioned the governance system, right? The funding through the treasury. So Polkadot has a very, very advanced governance module system from a blockchain perspective. And as Alessandro said, we have a big treasury on Kusama or Polkadot tokens, which enable a lot of projects, right? As Alessandro said, this is also supporting these kind of sustainability or climate change projects, because it's often also lacking of access to funding. So since we have a big treasury, we always like to support these kind of initiatives, as well as events. So a lot of the organization behind the Polkadot Hour here today at the COP27 was also partially funded through this treasury. And funding is, of course, not everything, but it's a big support in these kind of projects. Thank you for sharing. Now we would also like to hear from a specific use case that Evercity is developing. And we have Ilya actually live joining from you guys, very special. Ilya is the CTO of Evercity. And Evercity is actually a Berlin-based blockchain platform that focuses on impact measurement and investment. Ilya, I know that you guys work on a also very exciting use case. So please walk us a little bit through what the use case entails and what you guys are focusing on specifically at Evercity.
And I will share our use case of our company. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Great.
Hello? Okay, thank you.
It's not working.
We can hear Ilya. So on the live stream, it's all fine. Ilya, we can hear you. So on the live stream, everything is good.
Yeah, it works and should be working. Okay, let's try it. This one is better. Hello, hello. I think a little bit better perhaps. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, great, thanks. I'm happy to be here, and my name is Ilya. Do you hear me now?
We hear you fine.
Yeah, they can hear us. So they can hear us. Please speak louder so everybody hears.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ilya. I'm CTO of Evercity. Our company provides a clear and simple number of tools for making sustainable investment easier for our clients. And I will share our experience how we do that. For one case, which helps me to make documentation which is necessary to create sustainable project on the platform. And this all documentation is required by different financial institutions and sustainability organizations. After that, after that, we managed a tool which providing calculation for which helps a company to detect how they can be applied to sustainable finance and divide their business into different units which can be used as different parts for sustainable investment. And we also create a flow of utilization where we provide a tool which allows for our clients build some real company assets into their registers and making their copy in the different blockchain ecosystems. One of our blockchain ecosystem is Polkadot. We are using it for optimization process for our function to develop different offices in platforms and to talk about different other countries. And the process was
Hello, yeah, Ilya, we have difficulties to understand everything. I think it's a mic problem, and the people on the live stream should also follow us. So let's get this right. it was working in the beginning when Ilya started to talk, but it just got worse throughout having him talking. So
So can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you, but the mic has very bad quality, so it is difficult for everyone from us online following you guys.
Please carry on the discussion online. We will listen. We can hear you all well. So we will listen here. So let's continue with the panel questions. Apologies, there are some internet connection issues seems on our side. It's live, so please.
Okay, we will do this. We will continue online. I hope everyone can understand us. Yeah, people from the live stream, the mic is not good quality, so we will continue with the discussion online. A bit of pity because we would love to hear your insights, Ilya, and having you talking about the use case, but the tech setup does not allow us as of now. So we will continue here online, and maybe Irina, if you can figure out the microphone or get a better microphone, we can have Ilya joining in the next minutes. So as we just talked about, like different use cases, right? And Ilya, also from your perspective as a CTO, maybe you can share something to the people in person there. But I would like to start asking our guests here online to Arvin directly. Like we understood, like thank you again for your explanation of what Polkadot is specifically and what we are building here, or what kind of use cases Polkadot or decentralized ledgers actually enable. Why, in your perspective, is decentralization in the technology, however, such an important topic and so important and necessary to enable these use cases? Why cannot this be done through existing technologies? Why does it need to be decentralized ledgers? I think this is very important for everyone to understand, and I would like to get your opinion on this.
Thanks, Zoe. So true decentralization is unstoppable, which makes Polkadot unstoppable. And to get to that point is actually a lot of hard work, because you can only have a working level of decentralization if you combine it with open governance. And you can only get to open governance if you have an equitable distribution of the token within your ecosystem. And there are avenues to both existing but also new members in that ecosystem to participate in that governance. And what is one of the beauties of nominated proof of stake is that the validating mechanism is not necessarily dominated by a few big players, but even if you would decide to buy DOT tomorrow, you can become a nominator with a relatively small stake and participate directly in the security of the protocol. And that in and of itself is something that is incredibly powerful. If you're a DOT holder, you can vote on governance, so you can vote on the direction of the network. That's also something that is incredibly powerful. You do not need to have big pockets. You can just start with one DOT. And that in and of itself is something that is already fairly unique. And I think why this is important in the context of sustainability and climate change is that these problems, these challenges are shared. So only with a mechanism that gives voice to all stakeholders can you begin to approach the complexity of the situation with solutions that are actually feasible and workable.
Great, thank you very much. Again, like you're also mentioning the governance here, right? This is like really powerful in a decentralized approach to. I mean, it is somehow like a existing political system putting it digital, right? This is like what we do with governance in blockchain systems. And it's very exciting because, of course, we have people that maybe also don't vote in this life, but we can actually create a lot of incentive structures to make them maybe vote in a digital life. So it's also about like how we can include more people to be active and contributing to specific projects. This is, from my perspective, also the power of decentralization, and specifically having this on a technology side. Thank you for sharing. Just checking in, are we able to have Ilya back online, or should we just continue here? Maybe Irina, you can just let us know in the chat. And I will point this question to Alessandro as well. Alessandro, why is decentralization so important from your perspective? And you talked about a specific use case already. Would this use case be able to be executed without the technology of Polkadot? Or if not, what, or if so, what other technologies could you have used?
Sure. I mean, we work in the field of technology for conservation, and there's a lot of already existing Web2 software that works on the collection of data, but there's no technology that can connect data, funding, and governance for better decision making and better transparent fund distribution. So to me, I mean, it's not only because I've been in the space for a while that I cannot see other solutions. That we've explored a lot of Web2 in the past year, because this is what we wanted to understand. Is like how can technology serve restoration and conservation of wild ecosystems? And our mission, our vision there was like, okay, let's see how far these technologies, Web2 technologies, go, and where Web3 can play a role. And in this specific use case in Kenya, we could see that one of the biggest problems is the transparency of fund distribution. And oftentimes, like if you're a donor or if you're a contributor, it's hard for you to know what the impact of that fund had on the ground. And there is, I mean, there is enough data to prove that that impact was there, but you cannot connect that data to the fund themselves. And that's something that only decentralized technologies can do. So we are now, again, to summarize, data, funding, and governance connected together is why we chose to focus on Web3, while still partnering up with very Web2, oftentimes closed source software and software providers, because still we have to work with what this conservation organizations work with. Plus, there is a value creation that, and I think a Polkadot ecosystem is the best one for that. There's this value that can now be created without any impact on the environment. So the value can be created digitally and then distributed to the physical world. And this is, I mean, very exciting experiment that we want to run on how can, through gaming, through any type of like online interactions, create value whereby parts of those transactions or those interactions in the online space can be then redistributed for in this case the conservation of predators in the Masai Mara region in Kenya, but it can be for any type of like environmental project that needs constant funding and more resilient type of funding. So yeah.
Got it. Yeah. As you mentioned here, also the technology again can enable a lot of new incentive structures, gaming mechanisms to have more people involved, right, in these activities. Just another question, you mentioned like you work with Web2 companies or partners. Do you have a lot of Web3 partners as well, or are you like the forerunner in this kind of project and working with these companies? Or is it like 50-50? How do you work with like the decentralized space and the Web2 space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are now developing this framework for it's known as dynamic NFTs. We want to call it living NFT, because it connects basically the NFT to environmental data. So that it's not like a digital twin, but basically we want to create a framework whereby we bridge what happens in the physical world being reflected in the digital world to then again connect funding or governance to it. And we definitely cannot do this alone. I mean, our tech team is relatively small, so we rely on partners like Unique Network, and we've been talking a lot within the Polkadot Kusama ecosystem of NFT developers, the ones that are working with the most sophisticated technologies to help us to develop this living NFT standard. That is, very, very fresh. It's something that we've started a few months ago, and we're super excited to develop together with more partners within the ecosystem. Yeah.
You're definitely in the right ecosystem for this, right? Polkadot has, as we learned already, and in my personal opinion, the most innovative tech in the blockchain space. But not only on the tech side, also the human side in the Polkadot ecosystem is very, very admirable, because we have so many different projects, but all of them are very willing to work together. And as you see here in this Polkadot Hour also, right, having different parachains working together, or projects working with parachains towards sustainability and climate change. So the competition is there, but we always try to create cooperation instead of competition, right? In the Polkadot ecosystem, just for you guys to understand, that's really because in the end we all want to bring the technology into reality and like more adopted, right? I mean, it's there already. It is real and in reality, but it is still a long road for us to have it really like on the ground. And this would bring me This would bring me also to my next question. Like, what other initiatives can be created actually to support more actions toward climate change and sustainability in the blockchain space? What other projects could you imagine to actually push everything forward to create this adoption that we are looking for? Arvin, please take this question.
Absolutely. So I think here we can split our thinking across two distinct categories. There is the first category, in my mind, being how do we make blockchain or decentralized technologies green? So here you can think of the design structure, as I previously mentioned. What type of validation mechanism are you using? Is it proof of work? Is it proof of stake? Is it nominated proof of stake? What does the rest of your setup currently look like, etc. The second category is how do we make the world green? So that really focuses on use cases, as Alessandro is already eloquently highlighting. There are a few use cases in the Polkadot ecosystem that I can highlight. Some of them are super tangible, and I will start with the one that is most tangible. There is a Kusama chain called Remark. And Remark has a project called the Moonglade project. And this is a very cool project that addresses reforestation in Portugal. So how it works is that you can purchase an NFT. This NFT represents a tree as part of the reforestation project, and hence provides funding to the project in perpetuity. You, via the NFT, can also see the status of your tree. So is your tree dead or alive? So if your tree hasn't made it, which happens sometimes, if you try your hand at reforestation, you get like a little ghost tree. So this is something that is extremely, extremely tangible. But you can also address this problem in the first category. And here you can look at, for example, collaboration between two Polkadot partners, namely Sequester and Bitgreen. Now, what Sequester does is that it automates the functionality of aggregating transaction fees. So every transaction has a fee. So it automates this aggregation. Then it exchanges them into carbon-backed tokens. So a form of carbon credit. And what it does then as the next step is that it retires this underlying carbon offset to meet community specifications. But what it wants to do is go one step beyond that. It doesn't want just for the Polkadot ecosystem to be climate neutral, which is basically the equivalent of using carbon credits to set off your flight patterns currently, but it wants to become climate positive. So that's where the integration with BitGreen kicks in. And what it allows it to do there is that a portion of the parachain transaction fees are actually spent on high impact carbon credits via this BitGreen integration. And there are many more examples. Actually, I can just keep going. So there's water, which is a very interesting ecosystem to build end-to-end services for a new class of ethical commodities. Carbon credits are again amongst them. Another thing that BitGreen does is that it assists with buying of digital green bonds, which ventures into DeFi, but in a climate and sustainability context. Yeah, and then there are various NFT platforms. So if you look at the equivalent, even under proof of stake, of minting an NFT on Ethereum, that's still 1,000 times more polluting than doing the same on Polkadot, which would be in the case of unique network, the equivalent of just breathing in 4 times in and out, and that's the equivalent of minting an NFT. So you're talking about completely different orders of magnitude. So just to recap my point, it really is that combination of, okay, the piping that we're currently laying for these new use cases, is that solid? Is that something that where we can look in the mirror and say, okay, this is a good addition to the world, to society. And then these use cases can veer into the complexity that is needed in order to address a problem that is as multifaceted as climate change. But you really cannot do one without the other.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for giving also the overview of other projects that are not here today to really see the power of the Polkadot ecosystem in this area. Maybe also a little bit from my perspective, Vala Network, where I'm also working on, is a decentralized compute cloud. And the fact that we are based on Polkadot, which is proof of stake, which Arvin already explained, which is more energy efficient than a proof of work network. And we are also using only CPU computing, which is much more efficient than a GPU computing, and or let's say, computing power. So these are all aspects that, again, Polkadot brings with it, like the fact that you're launching on it, and then of course how you then turn your project into the right direction on sustainability. But what I want to focus on here is that really also a very infrastructure heavy project like Computation Cloud, right, also has the sustainability aspect in it by launching on Polkadot. And this is very powerful because infrastructure compute is something that takes energy, but even there we want to go towards the right direction. Alessandro, from your perspective, there was, you mentioned your use case. Is there anything, or maybe another use case that you could mention where you see, or another initiative that you could envision that could bring sustainability forward in the Polkadot ecosystem?
Sure. First of all, amazing that you brought up Terra and the Moonglade project. We are very close to them, and we were discussing doing another one. Another similar project to Moonglade, but then testing this living NFT proposal. So I could talk about, let's say, what we are going to offer to the Kenya Wallet Trust as a use case for them. But basically, it all boils down to when changes in the state of the environment, basically what we're trying to do is, if there's a change in the environment, let's say a lion gets dangerous or there's cost needed to sort of manage an individual lion that might be causing troubles with the herder communities that live close by where this lion is hanging around. there is a need for funding, right, that is connected to the data that justifies that funding being distributed. And those funds being distributed can be from putting a collar on this lion so that the NGO knows where it is and it can inform the communities of where it's going, to reinforcing the protection fences around the villages where this lion is roaming, looking for a meal. This is literally the use cases that we're discussing. And there again, there is data that justifies data about, there's a sub-adult lion, which is the dangerous age of the lions, where they're hanging around alone outside of the pride looking for food. And so there is that data that is validated by scientists, but also by the communities, saying like, hey, this lion has come twice very close to our village. I think he's looking for food. So you have community being able to intervene, the NGO being able to intervene, validate that data is trustworthy, hence justifying the expenditure of a few thousand euros, Polkadot, to then be disbursed for paying, to take measures, let's say. And that's a very transparent, very down-to-earth use case of how data funding and governance can really work. We'll be able to share more in the coming weeks as we discuss this use case and gets approved by this partner that we have down in Kenya. But also, I mean, the question that you started with, Zoe, was how can we, bring more green use cases to Polkadot? And I think my experience have been in the regenerative finance space now for basically from its beginning, and it was really Ethereum and Cosmos dominated space. And we tried also with BitGreen and to sort of show that the potential of Polkadot. But again, I think we're still like a very few, like the fact that we all know Moonglade and we all know Terra. There's just these few, and I think we need more. And one of the things that I've tried while I was in Kenya this summer, talking to a lot of developers, talking about Polkadot and why it was efficient, it's that if we start to move more in the global south and try to do use cases, there is much more. There's so much potential to create impact in those spaces, and that's why. And it's Zoe, like we are trying to bring a Polkadot event to Kenya, right, in the European spring, so around March, to sort of show to people what the technology can do, so that these communities that we're engaging with in the city, in the country, can actually see, okay, this is how I can use it, and here is my use case. Here is where you can help me out. So I think more environmental use cases are definitely needed with Polkadot, again, because we've got all the ingredients to be used for these use cases. We just need I think the developer community to be more involved with building on top of those use cases, and it's our role as SNI and others like BitGreen to bring those projects to the community and for them to contribute.
It's
100%. And can I come in on that? And I'm really happy that you bring that up, Alessandro. I think that it's very difficult to debate that the tech is undeniably strong when it comes to sustainability, and more use cases are very, very much welcomed. And I think with every new sustainable or climate change affecting use case that we add, that sub-community grows larger and it becomes part of the DNA of the entire ecosystem. So I would encourage everyone to keep beating the drum about that. And that we would love to see more greener use cases at Polkadot.
Yeah, and what we have to understand, because Alessandro mentioned other ecosystem, Cosmos, Ethereum, for the people that are maybe not too involved in the whole Web3 space, Polkadot, the relay chain was launched 2020, so 2 years ago. If you compare it to Bitcoin, the first Bitcoin block was mined in 2009. Yeah, and then Ethereum is several years later. So this technology is like the Polkadot technology in blockchain is very, very early if you compare it to the whole blockchain space, but it has such a potential. So it, of course, takes some time until we get also the developers educated about the potential of Polkadot, right? So as both of the speakers said here, the potential is there. It's more about like the awareness and bringing the people on top of it, because these use cases that we discuss here today are not able to be executed on a Bitcoin chain or on an Ethereum chain. And that's the power of the Polkadot ecosystem. Very nice. I see that we have also some people in the live stream. So everyone that can hear us and see us in the live stream, if you would like to ask some questions, type them in the chat. We can read this, and I'm happy to guide them towards the speakers here. If there are no questions, that's fine as well. I don't know if we can ask some questions from the live audience, Irina. Please let us know if the mic is working again, and then happy to take the questions.
Thank you, everybody, for such a great discussion. We could really hear you well here and engage with the conversation. Any questions from the audience? And yes, here, if you can hear me well, yes, a couple of remarks. We're moving to closing remarks because unfortunately we're running out of time.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's a great opportunity to make sustainable finance in the blockchain from different ecosystems, and I'm welcome it, and I hope the Polkadot ecosystem will be bigger. There will be a lot of different projects here, and it will be definitely easy for sustainable finance in general.
Thank you. Yeah, so over to you to close the session. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really enjoyed the conversation. It's really clear the Polkadot ecosystem is big, vibrant, and we have a lot to share with the world. And we're hoping that for COP28 we will have many, many, many more applications in the ecosystem working for climate action, sustainability, and empowering creators and activists. Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much also from my side. Last words from the speakers. Anything you would like to do? Arvin, please.
I have some open advice, unsolicited advice to policymakers. So I've been repeating myself a lot, like these past few years, but whenever it comes to making policy for decentralized technologies, my answer is always the same. And that is, first of all, to stimulate use cases where decentralized technologies can be a unique value add with funding. So with different government-backed funding vehicles. And secondly, to be mindful of the complexity of decentralized technologies and when you do engage in policymaking. So on average, it takes roughly 5 years from the very beginning to the very end until something is enshrined into law. But getting to the bottom of something like decentralized technologies is easily a 2-year learning curve. So my advice would be to work closely with experts and advocates of the industry to help out.
Great. Ale,
yes.
Yeah.
Sure. I guess my if there's a Polkadot community listening in, my invite is to reach out to us, learn more about the work that we do, and to invite them to really start to use technology in service to more than just human interests, but also the interests of the whole. I think it's a beautiful. We have a community as a Sovereign Nation Initiative that is very active, very passionate about the use cases that we bring, and they believe that technology can really play a big role in flipping the way we value environments and ecosystems, so that we start to value them more for being alive than than dead and exploited. So this is the invitation to our tech community, and on the more like NGO conservation, restoration, to those organizations to be more curious about these new technologies and decentralization, and to really look at it also with an open mind. There's been a lot of bad rep and around it, and I think we just went so much beyond it that we so reach out to the technologists to really ask them, like, how does it actually work and how can it help, because there's a lot of opportunities and potential beyond what you read in newspapers. So
Beautiful.
that's cool. Yeah.
Very powerful words from you guys. And I really loved your statement, Alessandro, you made during our session today. Decentralization, like technologies, blockchains, or the Polkadot blockchain is necessary because it can, it's the only tool that can connect data, funding, and governance, right? That's why we are using decentralized technology. I would leave it with this, and hope we could inspire you guys here today. Also learn or educate you a little bit about Polkadot. And as Alessandro said, please feel free to reach out to everyone that was here on the panel today, to the technology builders, and let's move sustainability and the climate change forward with decentralized technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Special thank you to Zoe for moderating this panel. Web3 is here. Come build with Polkadot and join us on social media. Thank you.
Yeah.